Alex Leatherwood released 1 year after being the 17th overall pick, a big trade for Philly, and what's going on in Northern Florida. Hi again, everyone. He's Tony Wiggins. I'm James Rapien. Welcome in to a Wednesday edition of Locked On NFL. Tuesday was cut down day, and we have a lot to get to. A quick reminder and a thank you for making us your first listen. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube or follow wherever you get your podcasts for daily NFL content here on Locked On NFL. And Tony, let's dive on in because this Alex Leatherwood situation with the Raiders, I wouldn't say it's surprising given the reports that came out late last week that he's either going to be cut or traded. But on the surface, if I said in any year on draft night, yeah, the 17th overall pick, they're going to make it through one training camp and one full season, and then another training camp and be gone and not make that second 53-man roster. It's painful. Just a quick couple of notes. $7.9 million in a cap hit to release him. The Raiders are taking on in 2022, nearly $4 million of a cap hit in 2023. So it's not like they just wash their hands from this guy and not pay the piper, so to speak. They're going to have to. Alex Leatherwood looking for a new team. I'm not going to say this is unprecedented, Tony, but wow, what a whiff it is if your 17th overall pick isn't on your roster a year later.
It's a super whiff, and it goes back to how poorly Mike Mayock and John Gruden were as general managers of that team. It's terrible. And the thing is, we're saying all of that, and the Raiders are actually in a pretty good spot right now, and they actually made the playoffs last year. And if they had gotten it right in the draft, they might have won a Super Bowl or been a contender in the Super Bowl by now. Let me tell you how bad they've been. Sometimes you can make up for mistakes like they did because they hit on Max Crosby. They hit on Max Crosby in the fourth round in 2019. But let me give you, they picked Cleveland Farrell, and they've done okay with Josh Jacobs. Those are the first two picks. And they had 3 first-round picks. Jonathan Abram, who is one of the worst in the league at coverage, were the 3 first-round picks that they had that year. The next year they had.
And by the way, the hit is a running back,
right?
A running. So that's a couple negative points. I'm just going to point. If you're using a first rounder on a running back, they better be damn good. Josh Jacobs is good. I can find Josh Jacobs later than round 1. Go ahead.
Right. Henry Ruggs the next year. We know what happened with him. He wasn't an on-the-field mess, but off the field, obviously the tragedy. Him as a player, we don't even talk about. We talk about Henry Ruggs. We talk about the young lady that died and the way that she died. But going to the next pick in the first round, Damon Arnett. They drafted Lynn Bowden in the 3rd round and then traded him before the season even started for a 4th round pick. Well, Lynn Bowden got cut today in Miami. Let's go to the following year. Alex Leatherwood was their first pick. That is about as bad a 3 year that you can have in the National Football League. And yet and still, the Raiders are still a pretty good team this year. So it just, those little things matter. And in segment 3, when we talk about Jacksonville, I'll tell you why I want to talk about them, because those little things do matter when it comes to making these bad selections. But Leatherwood was thought to be a guy who could play in the NFL, who could develop in the NFL. He was All-American type at Alabama. He's a 5-star recruit from the state of Florida right here in Pensacola. Had the size and all of that stuff. It's like he just can't get right, man. And he's going to clear waivers because nobody wants a salary. According to Ian Rappaport, 32 teams said no, because when you take a trade or you claim a guy on waivers, you have to eat whatever's going on with his contract. I think he'll clear it, and then I think somebody will pick him up and think that they can fix him. The Pittsburgh Steelers are a prime candidate to think that they can get something out of him. It's really, really bad, though, when guys you pick that high, it's not like either you make it as a high draft pick or we cut you. There's another whole area in here where you could be a really good, solid player for a franchise for an awfully long time. You don't have to either make it or get cut. He got cut, bro. And that bothers me and really, really makes me wonder what the hell Gruden and Mayock were doing, because they did it year after year after year after year.
Yeah. So a couple things there. First one, to me, everyone's like, oh, well, should this team go after him? Should this team go after him? some team's going to go after him.
Yes.
You know what they're not going to do? They're not going to claim him.
Right.
And that is the thing is, if you claim him, it's like $6 or $7 million over the next 2 or 3 years. It would be 3 years, what's remaining on his rookie deal, guaranteed.
Mm-hmm.
And even though the Raiders are eating a lot of that guaranteed money they had to give him, you don't want to take that on for a guy who clearly, and it is a new regime with the Raiders in Las Vegas, understandably so, but that's still hard to do, to go from 17th overall to not on the roster. That's really, really hard to do. And so you look at it and you say, all right, well, what's going on? Why? The why? Because there are other teams that had a high valuation on him. You're
Mm-hmm.
right. I mean, I don't think he was 17th. And I thought he was a guy who really, could play tackle in this league pre-draft. But I thought, man, if you move him to guard, there's going to be teams like that think, oh, man, maybe we'll move him at guard, or maybe our coaching staff can get the most out of him. But we're talking like a league minimum type deal now.
Mm-hmm.
And, who gives him the most opportunity? And so that's the thing, is these teams are going to have to evaluate that part. Is he just lazy? Was it just such a nightmare season for the Raiders that he was like, man, this is the opposite of Alabama. There isn't the structure that I'm used to. There isn't the culture that I'm used to. And he just didn't thrive in it. What is it? And that's what these teams need to find out, because obviously he's talented and he's going to get picked up by someone. Offensive linemen are too hard to find. And is he going to be good? I'm not sure. And I could look at, the Pro Football Focus grades, or say this or say that. He was a rookie last year. He's 23 years old. And guess what? He's going to be cheap. Mm-hmm. So there's going to be a team that takes a flyer on him. And it's going to be interesting to see who does, what Leatherwood's role is this year. If he just comes in as a backup, does a team like the Falcons, right, who are essentially tanking anyway, do they try to take a flyer on someone like that because he's a talented kid? Who knows? And I don't know anything about the Falcons. I can name any team, right?
Right.
Every team needs offensive line help, but it's going to be interesting to see where he ends up.
The other thing is, you're right. There are teams that probably had a book on him, scouting wise, and said, okay, we had a second round grade on him or whatever. Here's the thing you have to caution. And someone told me this a long time ago. He's not the same guy that they scouted.
Mm-hmm.
He's not. He lacks confidence.
Yep.
And now he's been beaten down a little bit. You have to actually put him into a situation where someone can extract the best of him and get rid of all of the stuff that lack of confidence, man. And once you get into that rut, I know it's a different sport, but Ben Simmons, once you get into that rut, and once you're the guy that everyone thinks sucks now, it's hard for you to overcome that stigma.
It is,
because now everyone's coming for you. And then more importantly, that you might be coming for yourself mentally. And that's a very difficult place. So even if someone did have a book on him, there's a lot of work that has to be done in order to get him to play up to the potential that we thought he had.
And that's why the fit, he's going to have to be cautious here. He shouldn't just pick, unless he gets claimed, of course, which I don't think is going to happen. But the fit matters. Alex, make sure you find the right fit. It might not offer you playing time right away. Maybe you're a backup, but you find the right fit. Because if you don't now, that's the only contract you're going to get. And that's not where you want to be. You want to be able to play in the league for a decade and keep getting those checks. And regardless if you're starting, if you're not, if people consider you a bust or not, whatever, ultimately that's what you want. And it's that's the part of it. Is he going to be patient? Will his agent be patient? Will they find the right thing? And that might take 3 days. When I say be patient, there are teams already doing their homework on this kid,
right?
And they're already looking. And I don't think anyone's going to claim him, but it is going to be interesting to see where he lands. And the only reason I don't think someone's going to claim him, just to be clear, is because of the contract. So speaking of contracts, there was a contract issue in New Orleans. And you and I have both talked, Tony, on this very show about the Philadelphia Eagles. And the Philadelphia Eagles took advantage of a contract issue dispute in New Orleans to land another piece in that secondary. We'll have those details and react to really what was the big trade of cutdown day coming up next right here on Locked On NFL. But first, a word from LinkedIn, because if you're a small business owner right now and you're gearing up for fall, you know what you need to do? You need to get the LinkedIn Jobs, because they're going to make it easier on you to find reliable help, not lazy help, not help that isn't going to be there day in and day out. No, you're looking for consistency. You're looking for someone that's going to show up, and you're looking for someone that's qualified. And that's why with LinkedIn Jobs, you can create a free job post in minutes to reach their network and beyond. It's the world's largest professional network of over 810 million people. Small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. And LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the candidates you want to talk to faster. Did you know every week nearly 40 million job seekers visit LinkedIn? 40 million. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonnfl. That's linkedin.com/lockedonnfl to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply.
And I know you guys want to make some money. How'd you like to do that? By placing entries in a daily fantasy involving player projections. How does it work? You go to prizepicks.com. You pick 2 to 5 players, and if they will go and score more or less than their prize pick projection. So prize pick sets a projection about what they're going to do statistically. And you can go either higher or lower, more or less. And you're going to win up to 10 times your money on any entry. You're not competing against other people. It's just you versus the projections that are available at Prize Pick. It offers projections on any sport that you watch, including NFL, NBA, Major League Baseball, NHL, PGA, college football, men's and college basketball, women's college basketball, soccer, WNBA, esports, NASCAR, tennis, MMA, boxing, Euro basketball, cricket, and more. Download the Prize Picks app or go to prizepicks.com to sign up and play daily fantasy sports. First-time users can receive 100% initial match up to $100 with the promo code Locked On. If you deposit 100, Prize Picks will give you 100. If you deposit 50, Prize Picks will give you 50. Don't forget to enter the promo code Locked On at sign up for instant deposit match up to $100.
Let's keep things rolling, Tony, with a trade. The Eagles acquired defensive back Chauncey Gardner-Johnson from the Saints on Tuesday, and I don't think a lot of people saw this one coming. It was, Howie Roseman working through some back channels. Let's dive into this initial compensation here. The Eagles received Gardner-Johnson in the Saints 2020 or 7th round pick in 2025 for a 2023 5th round pick and the latter of their 2 6th round draft picks in 2024. So a bunch of late round picks moving around for a guy in Gardner-Johnson who has been a pretty big part of that New Orleans Saints secondary. They felt really good about where that secondary was at, so they move on from him because he's a free agent to be after this season. But I'll tell you, I like this because he's versatile, and I know he's going to play safety in Philly. At least that's the initial part of it. But when you look at secondaries in today's NFL, you know what you want? You want a guy who can play the nickel if you need him to, and also play that deep safety role and move around and do things like that. And that's exactly what he can do. Look, the Eagles, I liked them before. I like them even more after this deal.
I like the Eagles. I like the move for Chauncey Gardner because he's the heartbeat. He was the heartbeat, in my opinion. Maybe not the best player on the Saints defense, but he was the heartbeat. I saw someone today. I can't remember. I want to give him credit for it. They say he's the Patrick Beverly of the NFL. And he gets under people's skin.
He does.
He sets the tone. He's physical. He does a lot of good things. But there's something here. I don't think the Saints believed that he could play safety because if they did, they wouldn't have signed Tyrann Mathieu. It's full-time safety. Or they just determined that the number that he's going to want is so high because safeties are getting paid a lot more that they wouldn't be able to match it because of the other obligations. And I get that too. So they move him to Philly. Philly was already a good contender. Now they are really, really a contender. And they have a guy who actually fits that culture and the city and the fan base. So it's a good spot for him. He's going to play safety, try to earn him some money. The difference between the top nickel and a decent starter at safety is a lot. That's why your boy Jesse Bates is up there being franchise tagged because there's a lot of money going around. And Derwin James just reset that market. So yeah, it's a no-brainer for him for his own career. And at the very least, he goes to another contender. It's odd that they traded him to another team in the conference, though. And for that amount of compensation, I think they could have sent him anywhere, and a lot of teams around the league would have taken him.
Yeah, especially for that. I mean, again, they're essentially giving up, a 7th rounder is what they're giving up, and then a veteran who obviously could play well and is entering his prime. He's in the last year of his rookie deal versus a 5th rounder and a 6th rounder. In the latter of the 2 6th rounders that the Saints have. And it's not in 2023 either. The picks in 21 in 2023, the 7th rounder is in 2025 though. I mean, so it's just, you're talking about late round picks. You're talking about a guy who can contribute. And you're right. What else is there? We're feeling so hurt during negotiations that it was just time. Like, was he going to become a distraction in an annoyance the same way, the Patrick Beverly, like he is on the field, essentially, that reference you made? I don't know. But looking at the Eagles, and they released Anthony Harris after this, I think they got better. And there's a lot of reasons to like the Eagles anyway. And you had a guy like this, let's say he does leave in free agency. Let's say you don't get a deal done. Because it's not like the compensation is in line where they have to extend him now. And not saying they won't, but they don't have to. And so with that, like the A.J. Brown deal, for example, you knew a deal was coming with that, an extension was coming with that contract or with that exchange with the Titans. This isn't that. So worst case, what? He leaves in free agency. So what? He gets that secondary to another level. He adds an experience, a wealth of experience. He's been in some big games, obviously. The Saints defense, they're nothing to fool with now. And so it's not like he's coming from a place that was beaten like a drum. That's a high-end, quality Saints defense. And I've covered the Bengals. Well, guess what? Trey Hendrickson, where'd he come from? New Orleans. Yep. Where did Von Bell come from? New Orleans. Eli Apple. They don't like to claim him. He played in New Orleans for a bit too. Guess what? All 3 guys are starting for the Bengals this year. All 3 guys started last year on the AFC champs. So I think there is something to be said about the culture he's coming from. And if you're the Eagles trying to get over the hump in the NFC East, adding someone like that for a 5th and a 6th rounder, easy money. You do it all day long. I love this deal.
And it's kudos to them that they realize they can't pay everybody and they keep replacing them. And they have they treat, it seems like the Saints are treating this like the way the Ravens have always treated pass rushers. Oh, we'll get another one. Go ahead. The Raiders, I mean, the Ravens always seem to have some 6'4", 250-pound tweener that comes off the edge, and they can't pay everybody. So I think that's what the situation is. And I'm still surprised because I think the Saints are contenders. I really think they're contenders.
Do you really?
So much for, hey, look,
contenders.
I am going to surprise you when we start talking about who I think is going to do what.
Wait, hold on a second. We'll do that next week. Contending for what?
What are you contending for when I say you're a contender?
I'm asking.
I think they're going to be very, very good, man, and they are a problem. So
you saying they're a Super Bowl contender?
Yes, I do. Yes, I am. And I'm going to tell you this. Don't go nowhere. Don't go nowhere. Sit here and get this work. Look.
Come on, get this work. What, look, is 34-year-old Drew Brees in New Orleans? Did I miss that?
But listen, you got to let me finish. Yeah. You got to let me finish. But I also think the Eagles are too. So that's a surprise. It's like I would not have strengthened them. I would not have strengthened them. I would not. I'd send him somewhere else. He'd have been playing somewhere. He'd have been playing in the desert somewhere. He would not be playing for Philly because there's a chance you got to go through him. And I just wouldn't have strengthened someone in the conference.
Man, I still can't get. What did you say? The Saints are Super Bowl contenders
because of their defense. Because of their defense. Because of their defense. Because of their
2000? Is it 2002?
Listen, they have been a thorn in the side of the Bucs for one. So I think they're going to continue to be a thorn in the side.
So they can beat the Bucs. They beat the Bucs twice. Keep going. Super Bowl contender.
Okay, but
are they beating the Rams?
Listen, you got to listen to me. If you beat the Bucs, now look at the other 2 teams in the division. They're going to beat the Falcons. They're going to beat the Carolina Panthers too. Having that good divisional record gets you home field advantage. You get home field advantage and you can run the football and play defense, you can win. Look at the 49ers. They almost did it. That's what I'm trying to say. When you can play defense and run the football, that's what they do very well. And if they get home field advantage because of the divisional record and they get in that dome, it's going to be a problem. I'm telling you.
I'm right. Buying Saints stock. You're taking the over, the bet online over. I already know. We don't even got to look at the number. Super Bowl contenders. Jameis Winston. Apparently it's 2015 or something in Florida State. Eat a W.
I gotta leave my boy Jameis alone. Man. He got his eyes
here
fixed.
We go. Now I gotta leave. Yeah, now I gotta leave.
He got his eyes fixed, man. He ain't
Oh
squinting
my.
anymore. He got laser surgery, dog. He ain't gonna
Yeah.
throw the other team no more.
Yeah. All right. Well, with that, we're gonna go from a Super Bowl contender to a divisional contender. I don't even know. I don't even know how to dress up your Jacksonville Jaguars. But
They
Tony's
are
got
the-
some thoughts
Yeah.
on the Jags. Hold on. What'd you just say?
They are a divisional contender.
Oh my
But
God. Up next, we'll dive into the divisional contending. Man, you're just being nice to everybody today. Divisional contending Jacksonville Jaguars. And the Saints are not Super Bowl contenders, to be clear. I'll dive into that more next week. But first, a word from Dave, because, well, we've all gotten into some tough situations where you need a little bit of extra money to make ends meet. And when you do that, when you're in that situation, well, sometimes you can't rely on anyone to give you that money just to get you to payday or to get you the money to help out with a bill. Well, Dave, they can help. Dave is the banking app that can help you get up to $500 instantly with extra cash, more money to fill your tank, buy a wedding gift, catch up on bills. There's no interest. There's no credit check needed. All you have to do right now is download the Dave app from the App Store. That's DAVE, Dave. Sign up for an extra cash account and get up to $500 instantly. For terms and conditions, go to dave.com/legal. Instant transfer fees apply. Banking provided by Evolve, member FDIC. Future you will thank you with Dave.
all right, rolling along here, and we thank you for making us your first listen here again on Locked On NFL. He's James Rapien. I'm Tony Wiggins. James, this one got a little personal for me because when we talk team building and we talk draft and we talk all of that, one of the things you notice that I never do is immediately after the draft determine a winner or a loser. I always say, let's just wait and see, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when I say wait and see, then I'm gonna always retroactively look back. Well, Jaguar fans got mad at me today or yesterday because I spoke on the fact that the Jaguars cut Jay Tufili, who was the first pick of the 4th round. Remember, they were 1-15 team when they picked him. And his own teammate, and I call it easy, it should have been easy scouting, that his own teammate. And the reason why I say that is because when a scout goes to practice, you're looking at both of them. They're on the same team. Amon-Ra St. Brown caught 90 passes, right? 6 picks later. That's something that I pointed out for a reason. Because after the 53 was set in Jacksonville, they were still talk that they needed a later receiver, that they needed defensive line depth. I think sometimes what folks don't understand is they say, well, every team misses. Hindsight is 20/20, but every team hasn't been as bad as Jacksonville. Every team hasn't been picking in the top 10, it seems like, for the entire history of their franchise, right?
Yeah.
So I'm only focusing on Jacksonville, and I'm looking at it and I'm saying, why don't, and you tell me this, I'm asking you, I'm asking for therapy. How come folks don't understand when they say, well, that's hindsight is 20/20, or when they don't get the variance between being cut and another guy getting 90 catches? It's not as if, okay, well, this guy got 90 catches and this guy's still a backup and he's still developing and you're just being nitpicky. No, he got cut after one season and the other guy got 90 catches, and they were both areas of need. And then when you look at the fact that Caleb Von Chason is a backup and an all-pro is in Minnesota by the name of Justin Jefferson, and then you look at the fact that in the same draft they took C.J. Henderson, and an all-pro is in Tampa playing a tackle and then by the name of Tristan Wirfs. And all of these things were needs because they were a 1-15 team, or 2-14 that year, 1-15 in that. Am I wrong when I go back and I point out guys that the team missed on? That's not cherry picking. What that, to me, correct me if I'm wrong. Am I just saying all of those little misses turn out to be one big massacre when you do it year after year after year? And now I think the team is pretty good because I actually think they're going to win more than half their games.
Oh, here we go.
But the difference is the weakness, you can't talk. Y'all went from being the 5th pick overall to going to the Super Bowl. So you ought to be sitting here understanding exactly what I'm talking about. But you don't sit there and roll your eyes with this here we go stuff. You know
here we go.
You know exactly what's going on here.
Is Jamar Chase in Jacksonville?
Trevor Lawrence is.
Is he Joe Burrow?
Could be, but now you're getting sidetracked. I'm trying to get some therapy here, man, for this fan base.
All right, I'm not going to beat you up. I'm not going to beat you up.
But do you see these series of small mistakes over and over and over again?
It compounds.
They compound and they become big, and then when you want to point them out, folks get angry. Am I wrong? Help me out here. I don't want to be.
No, I mean that's the thing. That's why. Look, that's why the Jags are where they are. That's why they were able to get Trevor Lawrence, and they better hope that that is the right, that he is going to be able to right the ship. I don't really have any doubt that he's capable of it, but you have to put enough around him. And so when you have those failed draft picks, right? I actually thought Laviska Shenault was going to be pretty good. And when they drafted him, I remember looking at him and I'm like, man, he can do a little bit of everything, man. And well, it didn't work out. And so there's a couple things, some teams stay bad because they just get it wrong. Right. Like, for example, and then I'm going way back, but Deshaun Jackson, everyone knows Deshaun Jackson. When he was drafted,
right,
the Bengals picked a wide receiver by the name of Jerome Simpson ahead of Deshaun Jackson. Guess who Marvin Lewis wanted? Deshaun Jackson. Why? Because he saw him up close and personal at Cal. He had ties to him and all of these things. And there was just some ins, and they went with Jerome Simpson. We know how that ended up. And if you don't, well, Jerome Simpson was never a Pro Bowler, was never electric, was never Deshaun Jackson. Those things happen. And when those happen, it might not have impacted the Bengals that year, but then it impacts them. And this ties into the Raiders thing. 2 years down the line, when they go sign Antonio Bryant and pay him $8 million to play 0 snaps. And then they panic sign Terrell Owens. And then it was just too many egos in the room. And then guess what? Now Carson Wentz out of town. And now all these things just happen and they have to change their whole philosophy. And I'm not trying to make this a Bengals segment, but what I am saying is sometimes you make a mistake or two, and then that leads to a bunch of other stuff. And when it does that, for example, if the Jags don't get this offensive line right and don't surround
Trevor.
Lawrence. Yeah, Lawrence.
Yeah.
I don't know why. Trevor Lawrence with enough weapons, but guess what? He might not work out. That doesn't mean that he doesn't have the physical gifts, the mental gifts, all of those things to be a star in this league. But if you want to maximize him, guess what? You're going to have to protect him and give him weapons. Same thing with Burrow, by the way, when I mentioned that. If the Bengals offensive line isn't much better this year, then Burrow's career could be much shorter.
Absolutely.
Than they hope, because he got it sacked 70 times.
Mm-hmm.
No quarterback can deal with that. Ask Cam Newton. You take all those hits, and after a while, you wear down. And Cam's just a freak, okay? And he still wore down and had injuries, and it struggled to get back to his old form, and that's why he's still out there. So, no, I agree.
For me, it's like when you get a franchise quarterback, the Colts did it. Man, they got a franchise quarterback. Then they got Edge, and then they got Marvin Harrison, and then they got Freeney. You have an opportunity, a golden opportunity. Even though they only won one championship, they were relevant for a decade and a half, it seems. You have a golden opportunity when you have a franchise quarterback. And I just want, for the fans' sake, I want them to get it right. I want them to really get it right. Right now, they lack depth. And this is the same thing we talked about with Leatherwood. Just because you were picked high, okay, maybe you weren't that dude, but you can still be a very valuable member of the team by being this guy. There's a big difference between being the man picked in the first round and then not even being on the roster. You don't have to. It doesn't have to. DeJuan Smoot was picked in the third round. They hoped that he developed into a great pass rusher. He didn't, but he's a real good player. And guess what? He's still on the team right now, and he's a part of the depth of this club. That's what you can do. You know what I'm saying? Jonah Williams was drafted in the first round. He's not an all-pro, but he's good, isn't he? He's good enough that they can build with it and build around it up in Cincinnati and just be a part of the team. The difference is he's not Leatherwood, where he was picked that high and then he got cut and they don't get anything from him.
Yes.
So that's the point that I'm making. It's not feast or famine. It could be feast or, okay, we ain't going to go hungry and we can build around you. We got some stuff to work with here. You ain't turned out to be great. There are a lot of dudes that got drafted in the first round and never went to the Pro Bowl but played 13 years. A lot of them. But more and more, these really bad teams are picking guys really high, and then they're not even on their club at all. And I think that is the biggest problem. So I got my rant off. And we can talk next week about my Saints.
Yeah. Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait. What we'll do is legitimate contenders and pretenders next week.
Yep.
Since you want to go all in on Jameis Winston and Mike Thomas.
Jaguars gonna make the playoffs too.
Oh my God. And with that,
I have not been drinking.
For Tony Wiggins, who is drinking some Jacksonville Jaguar teal Kool-Aid and some Houdat Spritzer. I'm James Rapien, signing off for now on a Wednesday edition of Locked On NFL. We'll be back, but make sure you listen every single day this week. Can't wait for Contenders and Pretenders next Wednesday right here on Locked On NFL.